You are standing at the time when the earth was first formed. There's no name for the oceans yet. No continents, no sky, no blue to speak of. Just a whirling ball of molten rock trying to remember who it was supposed to be. Gravity is still tightening its grip. The moon hasn't even properly moved in yet. It's pacing around the edges, unsure whether it's joining the dance or starting a new one. The air is thick with vapor. The ground crackles with fire. And down beneath the newly forming crust, in some boiling acidic pocket of ocean, something tiny begins to stir. You wouldn't see it even if you stared for 1,000 years. But it's there, a cluster of wriggling, single-celled beings, smaller than dust, older than fossils. No one's named it. No one's breathed to see it. But this is where life begins. Now, turn down the lights, turn on the fan, and listen to some soothing music, and we'll get started tonight. You might think life needs air, trees, sunshine. But bacteria laugh at that kind of thinking. If they could laugh, these early forms, thermophiles, acidophiles, and methanogens, thrive in boiling temperatures and toxic gas clouds. Their first neighborhoods are around hydrothermal vents. Deep in the primordial oceans, there's no sunlight here, just heat, metal, sulfur, and time. It's not Eden. It's more like a volcano in chains, and yet this is home. The first bacteria didn't need a reason to exist. They didn't even need a purpose. They were just chemistry gone clever. Chains of carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus accidentally found a way to copy themselves. And in doing so, rewrote the laws of Earth itself. How did bacteria form? Slowly, then suddenly, somewhere between 4.2 and 3.8 billion years ago, in conditions no human could survive. Molecules began organizing. Theories differ. Maybe it was a primordial soup. Maybe it was volcanic clay. Or maybe meteorites brought the right stuff. What matters is what came next. Luca, the last universal common ancestor. You never met Luca, but you owe Luca everything. Luca isn't human, Cass, not even close. But all life, plants, animals, mushrooms, birds, people, descended from it. And Luca probably looked like a bacterium. Not majestic, not monstrous, but unstoppable. Over time, bacteria evolved clever tricks. Some began performing photosynthesis, not like modern plants, but something stranger, more ancient. Among them was a rebel genius, cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria started pumping out oxygen as waste. At first, this changed nothing. Oxygen was toxic to most other living things. But over millions of years, this waste started to build up in the atmosphere. And that's when bacteria changed the world. Not metaphorically, literally. They caused the Great Oxygenation Event around 2.4 billion years ago. It sounds like a gift, but at the time, it was a mass extinction. Oxygen wiped out most anaerobic species. The planet choked on the breath of its smallest residents. And cyanobacteria? They just floated along, still doing their thing. No conscience, no guilt. Just chemical routines echoing across eons. If you think about it too long, it's terrifying. How do they affect the Earth? In ways you didn't ask for. Cyanobacteria paved the way for complex life by giving Earth an oxygen-rich atmosphere, a protective ozone layer, and eventually, blue skies. But that wasn't the end of their mischief. Some bacteria began forming stromatolites, rock-like structures built from microbial colonies. You can still see them today, fossilized in ancient beds and modern tide pools. These were the first villages of life, where colonies built homes in stone and secreted slimy mats to protect themselves. Life, even at this scale, learned to collaborate. How did bacteria evolve? They didn't play fair. They didn't climb some tidy ladder of progress. Bacteria invented something weird: horizontal gene transfer. Instead of waiting for mutations, they just swapped genes with neighbors. Imagine if you could borrow someone's ability to breathe underwater by shaking their hand. That's bacteria. This is why they evolve faster than you can spell antibiotic. They steal survival like it's gossip. One learns resistance to heat, passes it on. Another learns to digest plastic, sends the memo. They are the fastest hackers in biological history, and they never stopped. Fast forward to 541 million years ago. A blink in bacterial time, the Cambrian explosion happens. Suddenly, Earth is crawling with multicellular life. You think this is the age of animals, but bacteria are still running things. You just can't see it. In coral reefs, they maintain balance. In soil, they cycle nitrogen. In oceans, they regulate carbon. Their fingerprints are everywhere, on every blade of grass, every drop of rain, and they're still evolving. Who studies bacteria? Everyone who's paying attention. There was Antonia van Leeuwenhoek, 1674. He looked through a microscope and saw animalcules. He didn't know it yet, but he was staring at a secret universe. There was Louis Pasteur, who showed bacteria spoil milk and invented pasteurization to fight them. And there was Sergei Vinogradsky, who discovered bacteria could get energy from inorganic compounds like sulfur and iron. This rewrote our understanding of life. Not all living things need sunlight, just bacteria and rocks. In more recent years, scientists discovered extremophiles living in conditions similar to Mars, Saturn's moon Enceladus, and Earth's inner crust, which led to a question we're still scared to answer. If bacteria can live there, what else might be waiting? Bacteria and biodiversity. They are biodiversity, There are more species of bacteria than stars we've named. 1 gram of soil contains more diversity than an entire rainforest. A single human mouth has more bacterial variety than all the mammals in Africa. Bacteria evolve in hours. They form biofilms, act like communities, build microbial cities on your teeth, your skin, your shower head. They're not alone. They never were. We're just guests in their ancient kingdom. Bacteria and the historical map of Earth. They've redrawn it again and again. They made oxygen. They changed oceans. They shaped soil. They dug tunnels into the rock. They created acid pools. They formed iron deposits. They colonized the clouds. Yes, really. Bacteria can influence rain formation by acting as nuclei around which droplets form. They wrote the weather. Bacteria as a tool of war? Wait for the next part. But yes, they've been used to kill, to control, to collapse empires. But even without human interference, bacteria have always played both hero and villain. They caused mass extinctions before we ever named them. They still could, but they also made you possible. They breathe for you. They feed you. They raise the sky. And even now, at the bottom of the sea, under the Arctic ice, inside volcanoes and the guts of termites and the acid of your stomach, they're waiting, still writing, still shaping the world. You wake up, there's no voice in your head, nothing whispers. But still, the choices you make, what you crave for breakfast, how anxious you feel, whether you hit snooze or slide out of bed, are not entirely your own. Because inside you, quietly humming below your awareness, is an invisible metropolis of trillions, a microbial empire. Bacteria, mostly, some archaea, a few viruses, but the majority. The same invisible things that breathed out oxygen 2.5 billion years ago. Only now, they're breathing through you. Let's go deeper. Past the skin, past the lungs. You enter the gut, starting at the mouth, all the way down to the large intestine. This is not a highway, it's a rainforest. There are more bacteria in your gut than stars in the Milky Way. A single gram of intestinal content holds up to 1 trillion microbial cells. They're not freeloaders, they're workers, diplomats, thieves, healers, spies. Some break down fiber, others extract vitamins. Some manufacture serotonin, the stuff that makes you feel good. 95% of your body's serotonin, not made by your brain, made by bacteria. Your feelings are fermented. How do they affect the earth? Let's localize that question. How do they affect you? Scientists once believed the body was a sterile machine, a fortress. Then they looked closer. Every surface, every cavity, every cell, coated with microorganisms. Your skin has dry bacteria, oily bacteria, moist bacteria. Different strains exist under each arm. There's even a belly button biome, One person's belly button once harbored bacteria only found in the soil of Japan. He had never been to Japan. Inside the gut, the balance matters. Too much of one strain and inflammation begins. Too little of another, and digestion fails. And when things fall apart, your mind begins to feel it. You crave sugar, you crave salt, you lash out. Sometimes you weep without reason. It's not weakness, it's your microbes. In one experiment, mice were raised without any gut bacteria, sterile, clean, pure. But emotionally, they were wrecks. They panicked easily. When scientists gave them a transplant of normal mouse bacteria, the mice calmed down. Their personality changed. In another trial, researchers swapped the gut microbes between an anxious human and a calm one. You can guess what happened. They didn't plan it, they simply adapted. The human body became a stable environment. Warm, moist, constant food flow. So over time, bacteria evolved to interact with the nervous system, endocrine system, immune system. They began speaking our language in chemicals. This is called the gut-brain axis. It's not a metaphor. There's a physical connection between your gut and your brain. The vagus nerve. Bacteria send signals along it. Electrical impulses, molecular whispers. And your brain listens. Who studies this? More people than you think. But one worth naming is Ilya Mechnikov, a Russian zoologist and Nobel Prize winner. In 1907, he watched Bulgarian villagers drinking fermented milk and living into their 90s. He suspected their health came from lactic acid bacteria. He was mocked. Now we know he was onto something. Gut flora influence, inflammation, cognition, aging. Some bacteria even extend lifespan, at least in worms and mice. Still, it's early. Many probiotic companies overpromise. But scientists are catching up, mapping the microbiome, cataloging its species, learning how it shifts after illness, antibiotics, or grief. Bacteria and biodiversity. It's not just about how many there are, it's who they are. There are hundreds of bacterial species inside your body, but each person's community is unique. Twins have different gut bacteria. Spouses begin to share microbial signatures. Your microbiome shifts after travel, after love, after stress. It remembers where you've been, what you've eaten, who you've touched. Some researchers call it a microbial fingerprint. It's not just part of you, it's you. And yes, there's a dark side. Some bacteria go rogue. Clostridium difficile waits patiently until your gut community is weakened, usually by antibiotics. Then it spreads, fast, producing toxins that corrode the intestines. Some bacteria trick the immune system. Others block nutrient absorption, starve cells, or rewire gene expression. Autoimmune diseases like Crohn's, type 1 diabetes, and even some types of arthritis may be linked to gut microbial imbalance. And it's not just bacteria. There are bacteriophages, viruses that infect bacteria. Yes, even your bacteria are being hunted. Bacteria and the historical map of Earth, now they're drawing the inner map of human emotion, memory, and behavior. Your bacteria change as you age. Newborns get microbes from their mother's birth canal. Breast milk introduces bifidobacterium. By age 3, your microbiome is mostly set, but still flexible. In older adults, microbiome diversity decreases. This may relate to cognitive decline, frailty, and immunity loss. There's an invisible timeline living in your intestines. And what about bacteria as a tool of war? We'll get there in the next part. But know this: when soldiers march into battle, their microbiomes go with them. Stress, malnutrition, and injury all disrupt the gut flora. Some armies are now researching microbiome resilience as a form of soldier health. What if mood swings in the field could be prevented with bacteria? What if trauma recovery began in the gut? And still, these creatures inside you don't speak. They don't ask permission. They're just there, changing your food into thoughts, changing your life without your knowing. They're old, older than language, older than us, and they're not done yet. You're walking through a cobblestone street. The air is stale, the silence uneasy. There's a candle in every window, but behind the glass, no faces, just shadows. A cart rolls past, and the wheel creaks. On it, bodies, one stacked over the other. Someone whispers, "Bring out your dead." You're in 14th century Europe. You're not alone, because here, riding the fleas, crawling on the rats, tucked inside the wooden beams and the silk robes and the merchant bags are bacteria. They're small, but they've brought the continent to its knees. Let's rewind. The year is 1347. A ship docks in Sicily. On board, men who are already dying. Black sores swell under their armpits. Their bodies shake with fever. No one knows what it is. No one can see it. But it has a name. Yersinia pestis, a bacterium, tiny, invisible, catastrophic, in just a few years. It kills an estimated 75 to 200 million people across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Entire towns vanish. Fields rot. Children are orphaned. Priests bury themselves. And yet, why? Pestis doesn't hate us. It isn't evil. It just found a good ride. How do they affect the earth? By shaping its history. Bacteria don't just move through our blood. They move through our timelines. The plague helped collapse the feudal system. Labor shortages gave peasants power. Economies flipped. Kingdoms fell. Religions shifted. We talk about kings and wars and inventions, but the truth is, microbes were always in the margins, editing the story. And it wasn't just the Black Death. In 1817, cholera spread through the Ganges Delta, caused by Vibrio cholerae, a comma-shaped bacterium that thrives in contaminated water. It exploded across the world. 7 global pandemics, millions dead. Today, it still kills 100,000 people a year. And then there's tuberculosis, caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Not dramatic, not fast, just slow, relentless coughing. It killed Keats. It killed Chekhov. It was called consumption because it slowly consumed your body. Even now, it infects 1/4 of the world's population. That's not a typo. How did bacteria evolve into killers? Some didn't mean to. They just took advantage. Many bacteria live peacefully inside us. But when the ecosystem shifts due to stress, antibiotics, malnutrition, trauma, they mutate. They find cracks in the system. Some evolve capsules that resist the immune system. Others produce toxins that paralyze the lungs or rupture cells. Some even go dormant, hiding in tissue for decades before waking. Like ghosts. Who studies these spectral killers? Florence Nightingale? Yes, the nurse with the lamp. She didn't just comfort soldiers. She gathered data, showed that sanitation lowered death rates dramatically. She saved more lives with math than medicine. Robert Koch. He discovered Bacillus anthracis, anthrax, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and Vibrio cholerae. He was one of the first to prove that specific bacteria cause specific diseases. And Alexander Yersin, he gave his name to Yersinia pestis after isolating it in 1894 during the Third Plague pandemic. Bacteria and biodiversity. Even killers are part of the web. Some strains of E. coli are deadly. Others are necessary for digestion. Some Streptococcus strains cause strep throat. Others live harmlessly in your mouth. Even Clostridium botulinum, the deadliest known toxin producer, is used in medicine, Botox. It's not about good or bad. It's about context, balance, environment, pressure. You don't walk among saints and monsters. You walk among shapeshifters. Bacteria and the historical map of Earth. In 1979, the Soviet Union accidentally released Bacillus anthracis from a weapons facility. Dozens died for years. The truth was buried under political frost. In World War II, the Japanese military tested bacteria on prisoners in Unit 731. Cholera, plague, anthrax. They released plague-infected fleas in China, killing tens of thousands. Yes, that happened. It's not fiction. It's just quiet history. Meanwhile, in Africa and South America, epidemics of typhoid, dysentery, and cholera shaped colonial occupation and local resistance. Entire regions were transformed by microbial consequence. How did bacteria become saviors? Let's change scenes to soil, to roots, to compost piles and cow stomachs and deep mud. Here, bacteria aren't killing. They're recycling. Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter convert ammonia into nitrates, plant food. Rhizobium forms nodules on legume roots, fixing nitrogen from the air. They're turning air into protein, quietly feeding the world. And then there's bioremediation. After oil spills, after chemical disasters, bacteria come in. Alcanivirax borcumensis loves oil. It thrives in petroleum-rich water. It cleaned up after Deepwater Horizon. They don't wear capes. They don't make speeches. They just eat the poison. Some bacteria degrade plastic. Others neutralize radioactive waste. There's even Geobacter sulfur reducens, which breathes metal and produces electricity. Researchers are exploring microbial batteries, tiny organisms that might someday power your home, and we're just getting started. Bacteria as a tool of war. We've used them. We've feared them. We've tried to erase them. In 2001, anthrax letters paralyzed the US in the Cold War. Both superpowers stockpiled bacterial weapons, but war isn't just between nations. It's inside you. Antibiotic resistance is a battlefield. Bacteria evolve faster than we can fight them. They develop resistance genes, share them across species, adapt in days. Today, superbugs like MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, and XDR-TB, extensively drug-resistant tuberculosis, are rising. The post-antibiotic era isn't science fiction. It's a return to the old world, where infection means death. And yet, even in this microbial darkness, there's brilliance. Some bacteria fight back against their own kind. They produce natural antibiotics. Penicillin was just the beginning. We found new compounds in deep caves, in marine sponges, even in insect guts. We're learning their language. And maybe, just maybe, they're teaching us theirs. You can wash your hands, you can scrub your counters, but you'll never live without bacteria. They'll be in your lungs, your soil, your history books, in the plagues of the past and the cures of the future, in the silence before the scream and in the hum of growing things. They are death. They are life. They are what comes after. You wake up in a hospital. The walls are too white. The light is too clean. You're cold, though no one else seems to notice. Somewhere behind the walls, a low hum keeps time with your heart. Is it the air system? Is it the building breathing? You don't remember why you're here, but someone does. They're watching. They've always been watching. Bacteria, in their smallest triumphs and most terrifying designs, are now inside your history books, inside your body, and even inside your most secret wars. You were never just living beside them. You were part of their tapestry. You learned how they shaped continents, fed forests, and built the very first breaths. You learned about them climbing out of the ocean onto the very bones of the earth, colonizing lands you now call home. But what about when they didn't just shape the earth? What about when they shook it? War is an ugly, boiling thing. But bacteria have turned it into something colder, quieter. They are the original bioweapons, invisible armies, smuggled not in missiles, but in droplets, in cuts, in kisses. Back in 1347, as the Mongol army laid siege to the Genoese-held city of Kaffa, a new tactic was born. Corpses infected with plague were catapulted over the walls. Not just death, but infectious death. The Black Death was coming. But it wasn't just rats or fleas. It was intentional. It was bacterial warfare. You don't get to pretend these creatures are cute anymore. In labs from Fort Detrick to Novosibirsk, strains of anthrax and plague are frozen in steel cabinets, studied, optimized, cultured like fine wines, except these don't go to your lips, they go to your lungs. And the irony? We use them to fight each other while they're still evolving beneath our feet. You see it again in the trenches of World War I. Gas masks were issued. Yes, but they couldn't filter out typhoid or cholera or dysentery. Armies fell not by bullet, but by bacteria. No noble death in the field, just a fever that wouldn't let go. And then we decided to fight back. Penicillin was a miracle, a slice of orange mold that taught us how to cheat death. Alexander Fleming noticed it by accident, a sloppy petri dish, a lucky oversight, and we leapt on it like hungry wolves. But for every antibiotic, the bacteria replied, a little twist in their genome, a mutation in their membrane. They're not just alive, they adapt faster than you write this sentence. Hospitals, the very places we built to fight death, became bacterial battlegrounds. MRSA, C, Diff, CRE. Names you don't want to hear during visiting hours. Names that stick to your sheets, to your skin. You feel the paradox building, don't you? These creatures can save your life. Probiotics in your yogurt, gut bacteria that calm your nerves, engineered microbes that clean oil spills or digest plastic. You've come to rely on them. They're in your medicine cabinet, your water supply, your salad dressing. But behind their tiny smiles, they remember. They remember being there before us. They remember watching ice ages fall and empires burn. They know we're just a passing layer of noise. And still, we try to tame them in synthetic biology labs. Humans stitch bacterial DNA like digital code. We design bacteria to glow, to self-destruct, to sense cancer. We write programs into life itself. You see headlines, living computers, bacteria that can count, cells with kill switches. You think you're in control, but every time you create one, it creates back. Each edited strain births new possibilities, new risks. What if it mutates? What if it escapes? What if it teaches the others? This isn't Jurassic Park. You're not making dinosaurs. You're building gods, and still deeper, in the Mariana Trench. Bacteria doing things no human has ever understood. They process sulfur instead of sunlight. They convert metals into food. In Chernobyl, bacteria feast on radiation. In outer space, some bacterial spores survive the vacuum and return, alive. You see where this is going? Bacteria are not just old. They are not just clever. They are inevitable. Now you sit in a world covered in sensors, satellites orbiting your home, checking the weather, cameras watching traffic, apps monitoring your heartbeat. But bacteria don't need any of it. They already know your temperature, your sugar, your thoughts, maybe. The microbiome inside your gut is wired to your brain. It sends messages, changes mood, controls hunger, depression. Could be a bacterial imbalance. Cravings? Could be microbial whispers. You're not alone in your head. And the future? It's not humans versus bacteria. That war was lost long ago. It's something else now. Integration. We are merging. Bacteria are in your pills, your gene therapy, your biochips. Your new organs are printed with bacterial ink. Your future blood may carry engineered microbes that sniff out disease before you feel sick. You won't just treat bacteria. You'll become a symbiosis. And one day, a bacterium somewhere, on Mars, maybe, will look back across the solar system and wonder, who really ran Earth? You've made it through the microscopic underworld, an odyssey across 4 billion years of unseen domination. You've stood at the edge of Earth's formation, where sizzling oceans brewed the earliest whispers of life. You've watched the world's most ancient survivors, bacteria, transform airless rock into a blue planet, weaving oxygen into sky, rust into continents, and genes into everything that would follow. From the silent architects of the great oxidation to the buried strategists of biowarfare, you've met them all. And somehow, despite their lack of limbs, lungs, or language, bacteria have spoken the clearest message of all. Life listens to the small. In their genomes are blueprints for diversity beyond comprehension. You saw them shape every biome, from boiling vents to frozen tundras, your skin to the Mariana Trench. You watched them form partnerships, gut flora, nitrogen fixers, photosynthetic colonies, and also wage war in petri dishes and battlefields, in labs and lungs. They've outlived every extinction event, shaped the direction of evolution, and even now, right now, are changing the very map of disease, agriculture, medicine, and technology. Some write in CRISPR code. Others eat plastic. Some may one day terraform Mars. Others already protect you from inside your own gut. And through all this, you didn't just learn about bacteria. You learned about your world, how it breathes, transforms, adapts. You now know that biodiversity isn't a background concept. It's the main script. That history isn't always written by the loudest species, but sometimes by the most persistent, the ones that duplicate quietly in darkness and never die alone. You also saw the danger. What happens when we ignore bacterial complexity? Superbugs, soil degradation, ecosystem collapse. But even these are lessons. Bacteria are not our enemies. They're our co-authors. Every breath you take, every bite of food, every drop of rain filtered through the ground is part of a bacterial story still unfolding. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, remember this: bacteria are not gone, not past, not something that were. They are always, they are here, they are you.